Hello, my name's Gavin, this is Genre Books, and it's Tuesday, so it's Tag Tuesday, and I have been tagged by Book Chat with Pat, and I have been tagged with the Counting Days tag. This is an original tag created by To Readers It May Concern and Prose and Petticoats, and it's about the books you are looking forward to. This is going to be difficult, because I'm looking forward to all the books all the time. I've picked for the prompts, I have raided the shelves, I'm hopefully ready to get started. Prompt number 1, what is a book that excites you because of its cover? This won't be the last book in the Ballantine Adult Fantasy series that I show for this tag, but here is one, Rolf Krake's Saga by Paul Anderson, that I think just shows how vibrant and exciting those covers are. I like Paul Anderson. I don't think I've read anything from his fantasy output. Is this fantasy? This is more mythological than fantasy, I think, but till now I've kept his sci-fi output, so I'm excited to read this for a number of reasons, but the cover is just fantastic. Prompt number 2, what is a book that excites you because of the author? I've cheated a little bit, I've got 2 for this one. My first reaction was to retreat to my sci-fi shell and pick an author who I've read a number of their works in the last year. I've been reading him for decades, but I'm excited to get to read everything at some point, and that's Arthur C. Clarke, and especially pertinent for this one, because if I'm counting the days, I'm hoping to start this in 8 days' time. This is Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, which I shall be reading for the 1950s week of Rocket Summer. But like I said, I cheated a bit. I had to make a confession on a recent tag video that I'd not read any Agatha Christie, and it has been recommended to me in the strongest terms. So I am now excited to read Agatha Christie, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I don't think it's the first Miss Marple. I'll find out what the first Miss Marple is and start there. Prompt number 3, what is a book that excites you for its premise? There is a series of books I am definitely going to read next year. There's a whole subgenre of science fiction I intend to read next year, and it is underground societies, lost societies, Atlantis, Lemuria, that kind of thing. I read Vril, The Power of the Coming Race by Edward Bulwer-Lytton earlier this year, and it just triggered something. Not only the interest in the subgenre of literature that deals with underground and hidden and lost societies, but also the impact it has on certain sections of society today who still maintain belief in Vril or Atlantis or Lemuria or something similar. I can see the draw. I want to understand the canon, and part of that is going to be the Shaver Mystery Compendium. Richard Shaver was a pulp writer from the 40s, 50s and beyond, who submitted works about Lemuria. I remember Lemuria, thought records of Lemuria, the cave city of hell, and there's essays in this book as well. This is volume 1 of 8. it looks like Shaver really believed what he was writing about. And I want to try to unpick that. I think understanding Shaver, if I can, will be the key to unravelling a lot of the enduring fascination of Lost World Mysteries. And if I start that middle of January next year, that's about 190 days I'm counting. Prompt number 4. What's a book that excites you because of its style? I'm going to choose another recurring author for this little channel, and that is Laurens van der Post. And I've picked this book, A Far Off Place, because it is the most recent of his books that I own, and it's going to be the culmination of a little self-imposed reading event, a very private event of one that I have this year of reading all the Laurens van der Post I can get my hands on. That book, A Far Off Place, is 1974. I think the last book I read, which was The Lost World of the Kalahari, was mid-50s, 56, 57. So I've still got a little period of his writing career to cover. But the style is fantastic. There's a couple of different styles. In fact, there's probably a few different styles that he writes in because of the different types of things that he writes. The travel writing, Lost World of the Kalahari, Venture to the Interior, writes so glowingly and movingly about the land, the environment of Africa. The novels, In a Province, The Face Beside the Fire, dabble in scenery, certainly evoke the feel of life in that time and place, but they have a very clearly worded psychological description of the characters' thought processes, and probably that is related to the other style of writing I've seen, which is The Darkest Eye, or The Dark Eye of Africa, which is transcription of a couple of lectures he gave to the Carl Jung Society in Switzerland. He's a passionate Jungian, something I don't know very much about, so I'll keep my trap shut. But you can tell he's a man that thinks a lot about how we are thinking, which is a great thing to be applying to his writing. Van der Post has definitely been one of the absolute joys that I've got to this year. Hadn't read one of his books before, started in January and continues to be a revelation. So I'm excited to read the remainder of the books. I'm excited to get to that last book. I'm going to be a little bit sad when I get there as well. But I reckon I'll get to that book in about 159 days. Prompt number 5. What is a book that excites you because of its influence? Now, I don't think this next writer has much in the way of a visible or well-known influence over fantasy, but I do see him referenced in books by a number of other authors. If they're writing in the 1920s or 30s, seem to name drop him as if he's somebody that everybody knows. This is James Branch Cabell, and as I said, the Rolf Krake saga was not going to be the last in the Ballantine range that I would show you. Here are 2 of the 5 books that ended up in the Ballantine adult fantasy range. His adherents seem to be absolutely passionate. Lynn Carter, the editor of the series, obviously absolutely loves him. The Muriel Jaeger book that I read just last week referenced Cabell and a couple of his ideas and stories on more than one occasion, showing that even at that time he had a transatlantic appeal as well. And he looks to be one of the first authors who makes a living by writing fantasy books. So that does pique my interest. I am excited to read them. It's going to be a while with my reading plans as they are at the moment before I do though. So I'm thinking around about 330 days. That sounds like quite a lot of days, but it's not as much as for the next one, which is the only book that I'm rereading on this list. So this is a book that excites me because of its emotional weight. It's also another book I've taken from my wife's shelves rather than my own. So. And that's Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. I read this when I was either 15 or 16, and I would be lying if I said I had the emotional range at that age to understand much of what was going on here. But I did absolutely love the book. I could tell there was something there. I do want to get back to this one. I've got an idea of when I might want to do it, but it is 618 days away. But I think it's an appointment I want to keep. Prompt number 7. What is a book that excites you because of its sense of humour? I haven't read this book yet, and I'm hoping the humour doesn't let me down, but I will want to, at the end of Shake-Tember, or at some point during Shake-Tember, want to read No Bed for Bacon by Carol Brahms and S.J. Simon. 5 o'clock and all's well in merry England, but not for long. Good Queen Bess is stirring in her four-poster and is feeling neither happy nor glorious. Down at the Globe, Will Shakespeare is chewing at the end of his quill. Something's amiss with Love's Labours Won, and Walter Raleigh, boiling his new potato in the depths of regal kitchens, is getting very hot under the collar of his latest cloak. Will his spud achieve the perfect fluffiness for the royal tasting? Heads are sure to roll before the day is out. And if I like this one, there is another book I want to read in Victober called Don't Mr. Disraeli. This sort of satire on literary life is hopefully going to be a humour that appeals to me. 78 days away. Prompt number 8, the final prompt. What is a book that excites you because of its challenge or difficulty? Now, Pat chose this book already, but I think she chose it for style. I'm intending to read this as part of a booktube group come January, where I will be joining the likes of Randy Ray, the literate Texan, Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, in a year-long excursion through the mind of Marcel Proust. The challenge is going to be the complexity, the suppleness of the writing, the style in which it's written, the concentration that this sort of vast interior monologue is going to demand of us as readers. I would say some of the challenge is that it's a long book. I can imagine myself saying in January how I am starting a remembrance of things past, and at the end of December saying but I'm still reading. I remember of things past. Please, 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 I will have nearly finished it. But this has been sat on my shelves for I don't know how long. So I do need to do something about that. I'm not sure excited is the word. I'm anticipating it. But I'm not telling you with what emotions I'm anticipating it. And that's it. Only 8 prompts. I'm glad I had all the books roughly to hand. It gives me less of an excuse not to get round to reading them. I want to thank Pat for tagging me. I want to thank To Readers It May Concern and Prose and Petticoats for creating the tag, which has certainly got me thinking. And I will tag people below. But until next time,